Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another Closing Staff podcast. We're here at a little bit of a different location. Think of it as, Link just pulled the Master Sword out of the pedestal. We just passed some time, but we're here for another great episode. We're going to be talking about recent Nintendo Direct that happened, the Game Awards, just gaming events in general that have happened in the past or that may be coming up. And
that we just didn't get to go through.
That we just didn't get through. Just various things, that may be happening. But before anything, I have my partners in crime right across from me. We're going to go ahead and get started. Please introduce yourself to the people, sir.
Hey, this is Trade Hold and Holding Trades.
You got to wait 30 days.
Holding trades.
Yes.
In that little box in the back
room. Yeah.
Where we keep all
the accessories hostage.
That's where you have the Xbox that was traded in by someone's angry girlfriend. And then and then right next to him, sir, without introduction, please say something to the people.
Hello, it's Cash Wrap here.
Wrapping cash.
Taking
cash.
all the having the display of candy and all the other impulse buys that people get when they come up to the counter. So
yeah,
holding it down.
And socks.
Is it one of those days
Socks.
where the cash wrap is extra cluttered? There's stickers everywhere and there's games everywhere.
And there's a missing marketing poster from the front too.
I'm sorry. What do you mean one of those days? That's every day.
Some GA has not been doing their job.
Yep, still every day.
Still every day. And then I'm Distro here as well. We're the team here, but it's good to be back. I know it feels fresh being in a new location. Kind of like when you go help another store out and you're kind of sitting there and you're like, oh man, I always wondered what it'd be like over here.
I just have to mention that it was kind of impromptu, this new location.
Oh yeah.
The studio has always been set up. It's just a little more. I don't know what's the reason why we don't normally record here, but I will say that based on testing, it sounds much better here.
Mm-hmm. It's like when you're playing a game and you have a town that you just like going to.
Yeah.
You know where to go to get items. You know where to go to get stuff. You know where to shop.
And it's just coincidental because there was a big event that our normal place of recording had to be quarantined in a sense.
Let's just say we didn't have a Phoenix down.
Yep. That's actually a very accurate thing. Although technically in the Final Fantasy universe speaking, Phoenix Down does not revive you from death either.
Yeah, right.
From fainting is what it is.
Oh, there we go. From fainting.
Yeah, from fainting. So the Phoenix Down
Monster
would not have,
reborn.
Imagine that big old sword from Sephiroth
reborn
goes
the
through
monster,
your sternum, and all you do is faint.
No, but we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. I know the Game Awards happened. They announced a whole slew of stuff at the Game Awards. The Nintendo Direct, I know they've been giving us minis. There's been a lot of minis that have been popping out, but they finally gave us like an actual Directs. Where, thing about Nintendo is, tell me if I'm wrong, where I feel like they're just catching up, or not catching up, but they're just trying to fill their catalog with everything that's already kind of out there,
Yeah.
And I honestly, though, I think that's a good thing that they did, because I remember when they first made the Nintendo Direct announcing the Switch, and everyone thought there was just not enough.
Nothing for it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember the main thing was it was a lack of Nintendo exclusives. Like, the only thing that was out was Mario Kart, and it wasn't even a launch game.
Yeah.
You had to wait for Mario Kart. Like, what was a really launch game? You had 1-2 Switch. You
ARMS?
had
Was ARMS launch?
ARMS wasn't launched. ARMS came way later.
That was a
Oh,
launch.
okay.
You had 1-2 Switch. You had
Zelda, of course.
Zelda Breath of the Wild, which was basically selling the console for the longest time.
Yeah.
You had that one
That was also in development for several years supposed to be out for the Wii. Well, it was, but
and then they had that one side scroll freaking roguelike game. You know what I'm talking about? Where you go from left to right, it pushes you through the map, and you're taking on enemies.
that can be so many games.
But I forget what the hell the name of the game is. It's just got forgotten, swept under the rug.
Yeah.
And there really wasn't anything after that. And then they came out with Just Dance. You see this. So I don't think it was so much like a lack of just kind of games, but it was kind of like just Nintendo loves,
Yeah.
I think I say that accurately is both.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's both. Real quick, I just want to say, dude, Dance Central is so much better than Just Dance.
Dance Central's so much better.
Dance Central.
It's on
You
Xbox.
heard it here first from our resident
From a
dancer.
yeah, let's say from a
Trade
resident
I'm
dancer.
not a great dancer. I probably Cash Wrap is probably a dancer than I am.
Hey, we occupy our own spaces. Like I'm the Madden guy, you're the Just Dance guy. It's fine.
Yeah, totally. Honestly, I would say probably Distro. I'm sure it's a better dancer than I am.
Hey, I can get down. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but to Dance Central though.
Yeah, but to Dance Central.
I can do the Conan O'Brien string dance. Yeah, I can do that.
Right? Like, there we go. Yeah, but it's Nintendo Directs. This Nintendo Direct, they really announced like physical copy of Hades, which we're all excited about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I said before, I may not be able to get a chance to actually play it because of just the game type.
Yeah.
But I know that's been hyped up a lot.
Oh yeah.
And then tying into
Honestly,
the Game Awards,
I was waiting specifically for the physical edition because I wanted to get Hades, and I was like, oh, Supergiant Games. They've made big releases before that eventually got physical releases.
Mm-hmm.
And this game was just so well received. I'm like, oh, it's gonna get a physical, no doubt. So I was just waiting for it. And as soon as it dropped, I was like, oh, pre-order.
yeah, right. And it won freaking awards at the Game Awards as well.
Yeah.
Like I believe it won Best Action Adventure Game, if I'm not mistaken, which is actually pretty sweet. Kind of for like
That's a nice accolade for kind of a smaller, mid-sized game a little bit.
because it's Supergiant Games. Did they do Super Meat Boy? Am I mistaken? Or no? What did Supergiant Games? Who did they? What games did
They've
they make?
done Bastion and Transistor.
Oh, there we go. Bastion and Transistor.
Great games. Wow.
Yeah. And it's funny, this minor small controversy with Hades right now, physical release, is that the retailers can't seem to get their prices right.
They're
Because
selling it for a bunch of different prices, or what?
more or less. So Best Buy and GameStop originally had them for $35, and then Amazon. No, I'm sorry. What was it? Best Buy had it for $40, and now Best Buy has it for $35. Amazon originally released it for pre-order for $35, and now they have it at $40, and so it's just kind of been back
Really?
and forth. Yeah, with the
Interesting.
prices right now.
So you're saying try to find the cheapest price and swoop in, right?
Well, you know what? If you get it, like for instance, I pre-ordered from Amazon because I was waiting for the Legend of Zelda Joy-Cons to pop up, but no, that's neither here or there right now.
So yeah, no, I was gonna say we can get into that too. Skyward Sword was finally announced. I know that was one of the things that we talked about previously, as far as just expectations or predictions we wanted to
Yeah.
make for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Because you got to be honest, Skyward Sword kind of got shafted. As a Zelda fan myself, I'm a big Zelda guy. Skyward Sword got a lot of hype, and it looked like a really good game because even Game Informer did a really good piece on it. Like they had a really good hype on it. But then with the Wii U and the Wii, just in general, like that was a really dark time for Nintendo consoles.
I mean, I would say that I personally thought Skyward Sword when it first came out looked pretty good. I was interested in playing it, but then it was just the whole motion control. I think is the main complaint, and because every time someone complains about it, it's mostly the motion control. And when they announced it on the Nintendo Direct, so much hate for it. It's like, why of all games, Skyward Sword? But I was like, nah, you know what? I never got to finish it on the Wii. And I was just like, I'm down to get it on the Switch and actually finish it because I was interested in the story,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, many of the people that I still see complain about it, all they talk about is the gameplay, not so much the story.
well, to be fair, a lot of people complained about Twilight Princess on the Wii.
That's true.
And
That's true.
I beat it on the Wii, and I
did
got
too.
I got everything, and I actually thought the gameplay was fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Like,
actually.
so when I hear that kind of hearsay, kind of like, oh, this is garbage, it's like if Twilight Princess could do it, like it's not going to take anything away from, let's say, like a Skyward Sword. And then with the Joy-Cons that they have now, like, and with the accuracy on it, I can see where it's going to actually make an impact.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's one of the jokes that I saw coming up too. So, is the Legend of Zelda Joy-Cons gonna come with drift? Motion drift? It's like, okay, well, that would be a problem.
Oh yeah, the PS5 controllers are dealing with drift right now, right?
The DualSense, there's been some drift complaints.
Yeah, remember when I first read that? That's the first thing I thought. I was like, Nintendo, you got bailed out. Yeah, like if Sony's having the same problem, it must just be something in the mechanics or something,
Yeah. It could just be a small sample size right now of people comparatively, because I remember a lot of complaints about the DualShock 4s for a while. And it's funny too when people were complaining about the control drift. It was like, oh man, PS4 controllers are so much better. And then I was like, no, a lot of people were complaining about the PS4 controllers' batteries. I remember that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, because the light bar drains it and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because no one would dim it; they'd have it at like full blast.
Yeah. And I just remember a lot of people just complaining. It's like, oh, these controllers suck. The batteries die after like 4 hours or 2
I
hours.
remember that. Or the main thing with the DualShock 4 was the thumb grips. Like if right in front of us, I have my personal controller, and as you can see, the plastic is still on there, fine, but like some people dig their nails in there or something. But you used to see the outer rubber would come off, like it would come off so easily, and you would have like just the nubs.
Mine are all fine.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, and mine are all fine too.
Mine are all fine. And
so whenever I see anybody, I'm like, what were you doing to your controller?
Yeah. I'm sure there's some internal problems.
They were raging or something, like they were chipping at it, like because they were getting upset or
But at the same time, I'm sure there was some that were just coming not fully, or it maybe partially defective or whatever. But that's just a random thing, and then we would find out that it's complainers complain more than people that have a good experience. So a lot of people complaining, but it's actually compared relatively not that many people that had that problem. Versus when I was just like, oh yeah, when the Joy-Con drifts were happening, I was like, oh, it's probably just also a small sample size, but it turned out it was actually quite a bit of people.
My friend sent her Joy-Cons in and got a free set back.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool.
That's
she
what
said all she had to do was send an email out, and then they went through, and they just have to go through the process of going through like the packaging slip and whatnot. And
That's actually what's going on with the PS4, because some of the people that are having those drift problems, and they were just like other people that are having the same problems, like, hey, what do I do? And many of the comments are just like, I contacted Sony, they just had me send it to them, and they're gonna give me a new one or fix it.
Yeah. That's actually.
I mean, they have to.
It's the best way to do it. Yeah.
It's still within a year, so.
I will tell you, those the rubber pads of them. They make wonderful chew toys for dogs.
Oh, that's true too.
So just be careful, because I think I have a number of controllers at home that are all chewed up.
That have just been wrecked.
Yeah. So
that's a thing. Yeah.
Don't follow my example. Keep them away from dogs. Because the first thing they go for apparently is these joysticks. So
is that like
whatever is actually the chewiness, right?
It's the chewiness of it.
It's the delectable, the enticing factor of it.
I mean, hey, they're soft, they're rubbery. Probably feel good between a pair of teeth.
Makes me want to buy one. I'm just kidding. No, but even that, the Joy-Cons look pretty sweet. They had the blue one, the Hyrule Shield, and then the other one is the Master Sword, obviously.
I want those.
But then I was gonna say too, I was a really big fan of the Pro Controller they announced for Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Like the Monster Hunter controller, because the Pro Controller for the Switch was really good. That's actually a really good one. I don't have that one out right now myself, but that one right there, like with a good decal, I've been looking for a good one.
Yeah.
And it has the dragon.
Rathalos?
I'm saying the dragon, the Rathalos, but like main thing is like the decal on it looks dope. And I
agree.
Little things like that, I feel like Nintendo does occasionally, but they make it so hard to get.
They do. The Pro Controller actually has popped up multiple times, and if you wanted to, I can try to update you on whenever they pop up.
Please.
Because I've seen it pop up a few times. I've been hesitant to get it myself because I'm like, I don't need another Pro Controller, but
I could use
Pro Controller,
player,
the Pro Controller I have, I don't want to use it because it's harder to find at this point now.
The Pro Controller's hard to find right now?
The one that I have.
Oh,
the Xenoblade Chronicles
one. Ooh, yeah, that's a nice one too, yeah.
Yeah.
That one.
And I'm like, I don't want to mess with that one because it's hard to find. It looks great.
Yeah.
So I need one to mess with. And I'm not a huge enough Monster Hunter fan where I'm just like, oh, I don't care if I mess up this controller.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it looks cool.
Right? And that's a good thing that I haven't really thought about recently as well, is Nintendo really hasn't come out with a lot of accessories or a lot of like collector's edition stuff. They announced the Switch for Monster Hunter, of course, which is cool, but they used to come out with like a lot of different, let's say, just like collector's edition Joy-Cons or just Joy-Con sets, Yeah. I'm still waiting on like, let's say, like a Super Nintendo Joy-Con set, or like even an N64 inspired Joy-Con set would be dope, or something like that,
Yeah.
Or even just in general, like Pro Controllers, anything like that.
I think the ones that are kind of not really doing Joy-Cons, but they're doing like grips.
Yeah.
It's Numbskull. I've been liking their stuff. But they've been doing like GameCube and N64 inspired like grips and the shell or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They and then they have like the cover buttons too. Like you put it over the buttons so that it would match the colors of like the GameCube and stuff. They've been doing pretty good with those.
Interesting.
Yeah, little stuff like that. As far as games go, though, to be completely honest with you, like we've already mentioned that Nintendo kind of fills their catalog with the games that are already out. But Mario Golf. Mario MF and Golf. You know, to keep it family friendly in here. Like I used to play it on N64 all the time. Like that game was fun. To your point, Tradehold, I do enjoy Mario Tennis.
Oh,
I
yeah.
do. I do enjoy Mario. What was it? Mario Soccer Strikers, or was Mario Strikers?
Strikers.
So like, you know, those games are fun. You can pretty much have Mario do anything. You can make him a
Yeah.
doctor. You know, yeah, like dude can do whatever you want. But
I mean-
like, you know, when they showed the Mario Golf, the fact that they had all these different modes that you can play,
Yeah.
where you can you can have a speed golfing where like everybody hits, again, you have all the balls go at the one time. Everybody can kind of play at once, you know, and you have the different modes where it's almost an open world where you can actually run to your ball and you're trying to race, you know, you can get stars and it's basically who can get basically the hole done first. Little things like that,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, like I feel like it's a good family game.
No. Like,
'Cause
I definitely
for me,
agree.
I have-
Mario Golf it's. I mean, even N64 Mario Golf right now is still popular.
Yeah.
People speed run that all the time, but and definitely, you know, great announcement.
Yeah.
But to me, I love Mario Tennis the most out of all the sports Mario. Let's just say so for me, I'm just like I'm waiting on that Mario Tennis, you know. And then they did have one already.
Yeah,
actually.
they did have a Mario
They
Tennis,
had
yeah.
one already.
That's what I'm saying. Like I was waiting for golf.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, yeah.
Then you knew
Golf was the
strikers
last
now,
piece.
and
Golf-
it's been a while since they've done the sluggers.
They haven't done the sluggers either yet.
Sluggers, oh yeah. Wow.
And then besides that, Splatoon 3, me and my nephew played a lot of Splatoon. So watching a Splatoon 3 announcement, I looked over, I was like, wait, what can they be doing?
yeah.
I'm like, I think it's about time for a 3. And they showed the 3, I'm like, yeah, there we go. You know, me and Nintendo are on it. You know, yeah. Yeah, we're on the same page, you know?
Yeah.
But then like that's really the only real main games that they announced as far as like, let's say, Nintendo titles. You know, Skyward Sword,
Was
you
it-
know, Splatoon,
was it
you know,
this direct or
Mario, tennis,
or another
or not tennis, golf.
announcement that I saw Pokemon Snap?
Oh, Pokemon Snap was one on the minis beforehand.
Okay,
Yeah,
one of the
Yeah.
mini ones. It's legit. I'm looking forward to that.
yeah. Snap is going to be a good one.
Had
There
a
was
lot of
a-
good times with Pokemon Snap. let me
Yeah,
tell
I
you.
spent a
I
lot
had
of time on Pokemon
people
Snap
who
myself.
were
Yeah.
excited. Oh, you know what? Now that I just think about it too, I know one of the complaints about Skyward Sword was that it's going to be a full price 60.
Oh, okay.
That is one of the main complaints that I'm seeing about it.
That's a
too.
short game too. It's
Yeah.
one of the shorter Zeldas, to be honest with you. Like I can run through that one really quick.
Really?
No, yeah.
Yeah, so like even some of the Nintendo fans were just like it should at least like at most be 50, you know.
Yeah.
But I can't say much because I never beat that one, and again I'm down for it because I'm just like I never got to beat it on the Wii, and I'm
Yeah.
down to play it again and find out how
'Cause-
it ends.
Because where do you think Nintendo's Switch, the strengths lie on the console? Do you think it's their exclusive content? Do you think it's like their RPGs that they get from everywhere? Do you think it's their older games? You know, their older titles. Like where do you think their bread and butter for the Switch is right now?
It's a good question. You got to look at the player base.
You know, yeah. Like
Honestly-
what is their
Who's the-
main? You know,
Who's
like
the majority of the player base, and what do
I
they
think
wanna
right
play?
now,
because for me, I'm more of a Nintendo exclusive guy. Like I'm still waiting for Metroid. Like
Right.
you know what I mean? I'm still waiting for Breath of the Wild 2.
Right.
I was excited for Splatoon 3 because those were Nintendo titles, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I feel like maybe not a lot of gamers are on that same boat, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
I think I personally think the Nintendo right now is the most diverse player base at the moment now.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because now they're getting, games that were initially not on Nintendo consoles now on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
They have the portability audience, being able to play,
Yeah.
anywhere and not just on your TV. And then they have the loyal Nintendo, fans. So
Yeah.
I think they actually are the most diverse right
like
now.
myself. Yeah, but even looking, another game that I completely forgot about, Bravely Default 2,
Yeah.
which is coming out on the Switch super soon, which is actually looking good. It's actually going to be in the 26th of this month, February. So
Oh wow.
that's looking like it's going to be a really good one.
And then they showed off a Project
Yeah.
Triangle Strategy.
Triangle Strategy, exactly. Because then Square Enix comes out with these really good RPGs on the Switch.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I find myself mainly playing Nintendo titles and let's say like a good Square Enix RPG on there.
Right. Right.
But then
That's
other people are still playing like we were saying, like catch-up titles almost. Like I couldn't play this before, but now that I can on the go, I'm able to play Wolfenstein. I'm able to play Resident Evil. I'm
Right.
able to play like these little games, or not little games, but just these games that I wasn't able to play
Yeah.
before. You know?
These previously non-Nintendo titles, basically.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, no,
Right.
Project Triangle Strategy, which looks like a cross between Bravely Default and Octopath Traveler, and even a little bit of Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah.
Is it that exclusively on the Switch too? I don't know if they actually mentioned exclusivity or not. I just know that I just know that it reminded me of Unsung Story in the sense that I think is what Unsung Story should have been.
Well,
Yeah.
to be fair, that game doesn't even have a solid title yet. It says title to be determined.
Yeah, I know.
So
Title
I feel
to
like
be
It could literally be Octopath Traveler.
I feel
2
like it
or-
might be limited exclusivity until they actually see how the game does. But that game should be on the Switch,
Yeah.
hands down.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's gonna be on the Switch.
it's gonna be on the Switch, but I feel like that's the console that
It's gonna
like,
stay on.
It's gonna stay on if anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. But looking at it, there was like the Plants vs. Zombies that was announced. There's No More Heroes 3, which I know you're excited about, Trade Hold.
Yep.
That looks pretty good.
Yep.
They had the Capcom Arcade Stadium, for people that are like,
Which is cool.
Which just came out. But then, like we said before, like Tales from the Borderlands is a game that's a little bit older, Like they're announcing little things, kind of like that one game, Outer Wilds, looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
Outer Wilds looks kind of cool.
I think
but-
that people have been actually waiting on that one
Yeah,
for the
I've
Switch.
been waiting on that for a while.
You're right. Star Wars Hunters,
Which,
and
they
then
didn't show
like,
much of that one.
They didn't
Yeah.
really show much of that. Like the expansion pass for Hyrule Warriors, Ghosts and Goblins. It's kind of just like, what are you really showing me, Nintendo? To be
Yeah.
completely honest with you,
Yeah.
that's all I was like. What are they really pushing right now? It's kind of like they're just trying to like keep us fluffed until we get like Breath of the Wild 2, we
Right.
get Metroid. We get
I mean, it seems like Breath of the Wild 2 will definitely have its own direct. I think it seems
Probably.
like that's what they're
Oh,
hinting
for
at, which
sure,
would be
yeah.
great. Like
Yeah.
if they did that, dude.
Well, didn't they
that
do a
was-
Breath of the Wild direct where they just like straight up just went balls deep,
Yeah.
excuse my language, into the game,
Yeah.
and they just showed everything.
So that's what I think. That's what I think they're gonna do with this one. For me, when all of my friends were just like, "I'm waiting for Breath of the Wild," 2 news. I'm like, I don't think that's gonna happen. If they were to do that, they're just gonna did exactly what they did, which
Yeah.
was like we'll have news later on. Maybe
So-
at most a teaser.
So I don't know if you guys remember, but I've been saying this for years now, But when Breath of the Wild came out, I felt like the game was incomplete. Remember I told you guys, like I felt
remember
like
that.
you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I told you guys, like I don't think they finished the game.
Right.
And everyone's like, "What do you mean?" Blah 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 blah. blah. And I was like, "Cause
Rebel.
Yeah, right. Rada rada rada. But like, and then they're making a mother effing 2. And I was like, "I told you." Yeah, I was like, there was way more story that I'm pretty sure they wanted to put in there.
There's more to do.
You know what?
Like, like.
I just had to say, all the Zelda fans, you guys are looking at it all wrong, including you, Distro.
like-
You're looking at it all wrong.
You're looking at it all wrong.
It's if they really, really want to blow up and just destroy the market, they have to release the Legend of Zelda CDI collection.
Exactly.
The Legend of Zelda CDI collection, man.
We don't talk about those. Man.
Hey, some of those stuff that the ideas that were brought in from the CDI collection have been kind of
Yeah.
kept on board.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
We'll talk about it someday. I think I was gonna ask you a related question for your profiles, but we never got to it.
Yeah.
No, yeah. No, but stuff like that, yeah. Like I feel like they're gonna do a specific direct for
Yeah,
Breath of the
yeah.
Wild too.
Same. I
know.
think it might be the same with Metroid though. It's hard to say.
Metroid's like
Yeah.
it's always in development purgatory.
Yeah, guys, I say
Always.
development hell right now, so who
Always.
knows what's going on.
My
with
thing
that.
is because the creators of Metroid Prime were in Texas, right? Like I forget exactly what team made it, but it wasn't directly like a
you
Nintendo
would know better than
team,
I
right?
would.
Yeah.
Know that one.
So from what I've heard is that the Metroid Prime team was a team in Texas that loves Metroid. Like they were like the diehard fans.
Yeah. What's the name of that? I know the studio you're talking
Yeah.
about.
We'll come back on a further episode with more information. But yeah, like
Yeah.
basically they did Metroid Prime and they did Metroid Prime Corruption, I believe,
Right.
which did really well. And then all the ones after that were taken away from them basically and wasn't that same studio. But the thing about it was that the thing about Nintendo is, you know how they are. They kind of like picking and choosing who they want to work with. Apparently, they don't want to give Prime back to the original people that made it, and they're trying to work with the team that they want. So that's why like Prime has been in kind of like this development purgatory.
I see. That's interesting. I actually didn't
Retro.
know too much about it. Was it?
Retro
Retro?
Studios.
Retro
That's the
Studios,
name.
yeah.
Yeah.
See?
Very prominent studio.
They
that
should have
partners
named
with
themselves
Nintendo.
Retroid.
Retroid.
Yeah.
Because
It only makes sense.
Because the original Metroid Prime was really good. Like the first one that came out on GameCube.
Oh yeah.
I've been
Changing.
asking for a Super Metroid remake in Prime style, where it's behind the visor,
Oh.
arm out. You're fighting Kraid. You're
Yeah.
fighting Ridley. Like you're fighting everybody.
You know what? I just thought of something. This is a little slightly off topic in the sense. I know EA announced, Mass Effect, was it Legendary Edition or whatever they call it?
Yeah.
What systems did they say it was going to be on? Have they mentioned it? Is it going to be on the Switch?
Whew, that'd be cool.
Ooh, that's a good question.
The reason why I said that, if they did it on the Switch, and they had Samus in there, and you could romance Samus,
Oh, dude.
sold.
Sold.
Me as someone who's just like, oh yeah, cool, I might get Mass Effect later on, the Legendary Edition later on type of thing. If they actually had that crossover for the Switch, I'm like, I'll get it on the Switch. I'll take it.
Yeah, right. I'll take it.
Get those angles for Samus.
Yeah,
Zero Suit Samus.
See, I'm a big.
That's actually a good point.
Yeah.
Because cross collaboration between different studios, allowing their mascots or their characters to kind of show up on a different game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously not anything new, but we're seeing some pretty interesting developments with these big companies allowing some of their quote unquote competitors to kind of have some different
let them
things.
go have a sleepover or something.
Yeah.
Like let them out of the house a little bit.
And one of the more prominent recent examples I saw is MLB The Show is going to be on Xbox. Which is huge.
That is huge.
Yeah, I was about to say it. No, yeah, like that's really big because for the longest time, that's why people got PlayStations for the MLB The Show.
Yeah. So to kind of see this, like, especially Sony, who's
there's
notorious
0
for, being very protective of their
exclusivity,
IPs.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even if that game isn't on Switch, put Samus in Mass Effect. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
Oh, that'd be dope.
I mean, it's not gonna happen. I would say 98% chance that
Right.
won't happen because even if they put it even if it wasn't just the fact that it was a Nintendo character, it's the fact that Mass Effect romancing is known to be very overly sexual. Nintendo's probably like no.
Yeah.
No.
Samus is off
a
limits.
nice,
Can't romance her.
Zero Suit Samus. It's cold in space. You gotta make. All you have to do is add bumps.
Yeah, right.
Like
That's all you gotta do.
we keep it rated G, but all you have to do is just cell shade here or there, and then you're fine. No, but that being said too, as far as the Game Awards go, like going into the Game Awards a little bit, like we mentioned, Hades kind of scooped in a little bit, and kind of surprised a little bit because I was surprised by the fact I'm winning anything. But The Last of Us 2 pretty much took everything.
What were the candidates again?
So for the game of the year, right? It was that. It was Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
And then
Not sashimi.
Yeah, or yes, a sashimi. And then you had Hades, who also went for Game of the Year as well. And then besides that, we had
There was two more. I believe there was 5, right?
there is 2 more. I don't think it was anything
Final
like
Fantasy VII
Final
remake.
Fantasy VII
Final
remake.
Fantasy 7, yeah.
And then excuse me on the third on the final one, but we kind of just like talked about it before a little bit off podcast. But how do you guys feel about Last of Us 2 kind of just kind of almost cleaning house?
I'll go last on this one.
I'll go last on this one.
Last of Us 2 cleaning up. I mean, it's a game. It's a prestige game made for the purpose of winning the hearts and minds of regular gamers as well as those who are in voting positions. So it was a given that was going to happen. I think.
Do you think the fact that Last of Us 1 won Game of the Decade not even a year before influenced the voters to give it Last of Us 2 Game of the Year right off the bat?
There's probably
There's probably some
I
influence
wouldn't
on
be surprised. Yeah.
I think there's some influence.
that
But I don't think it's as big as an influence as the reasons that I will talk about once you get
right?
to me.
Yeah, because you can click on
Doom Eternal was the other game.
Oh,
and then
okay.
Doom Eternal. There we go.
Yeah.
And then we talked about it beforehand as well, like just as far as Last of Us 2 goes, or Last of Us Game of the Decade beforehand. The number one is we kind of disagreed with what Game of the Decade should be.
Yeah.
And like we were surprised by Last of Us winning it, but kind of like not surprised at the same time.
Yeah.
Like we even said like we're surprised it wouldn't have been ours, but we can see how it was.
Yeah, and then at the same time, no matter who won.
Yeah, it's subjective.
People,
Yeah.
Because even Last of Us 1, and this is something we already talked about. Even Last of Us 1 was highly, highly rated by critics and fans when it first came out.
Even on
But
PS3
then,
and everything.
Yeah, but then once it got Game of the Decade, suddenly all the people who no one heard from had complaints.
Yeah.
It was like they just like straight came out of hiding from the bushes. Like,
Oh, that's true.
it's
Everyone's just
I
like,
didn't even
no,
know
but
that guy was in there. No, he
no,
just came
but-
out of the bushes.
But wait, let's really talk about, you know,
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Right.
It was like, oh yeah, that guy was hiding there for like the last 4 years. We didn't know he was there. And then all of a sudden, you know, oh, Last of Us 1. I want to say something about that.
Yeah.
And then he just comes right out. You know?
I remember like when that game came out, I told people it's like that's probably the best like action adventure or just like partner
Dude,
story that I played in the past 5 to 10 years. Like that was amazing. You know, yeah.
It's I'd like to say I'm pretty good judge of games when they show off games, and while the full game was not as polished as the trailers, and most of the time they aren't anyways. When I looked at it, I was like, dude, that game is gonna be huge. Because I just remember like everything about that game. Because even when I was looking into it, the premise of it's not just post-apocalyptic. They actually had a pretty believable reason, which is the whole thing with like the cordyceps.
Because the thing is, like, they didn't market it as a zombie game right at all, or anything like that either, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like that was the first kind of gripe on the game when it was coming out, was people were just like, oh, it's just another post-apocalyptic. The Walking Dead was really popular at the time, so everyone's kind of just like, oh, they're just riding the zombie hype, like
Right.
doing all this stuff.
Another
Because you know,
zombie story.
Because the show was really good, and then Telltale had come out with their games and
Yeah.
stuff, you know, like and so forth and whatnot. But then, and I remember like Dying Light, you know, and like different games like that kind of just like set the tone. But
Yeah.
when you really played the game at its core, like I remember what got me excited was there's rumblings about it, like you were saying, where everyone's like, oh, this game looks really good. When I saw that Naughty Dog was making it, I was like, oh man, this
Yeah.
is like.
And this was their first
was like-
post Uncharted.
Yeah, I was about to
game,
say, and I
too,
was like,
so
this is their chance to kind of get off Uncharted, you know, and kind
Yeah.
of really spread their legs a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, sure enough, they did.
Spread
like,
their legs.
I'm trying to keep it rated G, sir.
Then you should have said spread their wings.
Yeah, you know, Naughty Dog spread their legs on that.
I
one,
didn't.
man.
I didn't.
mean,
I didn't see any wings in that game. Right. No, but yeah, no, that was you know.
I mean, at that point, you should have just straight said spread their butt cheeks and just
Damn. Oh man, but yeah, like with that game, you know, they really did show their, you know, like they showed what
showed
they
that
could
they
do.
were capable. Yeah, capable
Exactly.
of really kind
Of really doing something
transcending
besides
what they.
Yeah.
Because I
Nathan
mean, we're
Drake.
talking about a company that started with, you know, Crash Bandicoot.
Crash
You know, we're
Bandicoot, yeah.
talking about a company that was reshaping itself when Uncharted came out, and then did it again when Last of Us came out. I mean, that's pretty impressive. You
So-
know?
just more stronger narratively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
mean, it makes sense. You know, all the you know, different directors that have gone through Druckmann and Hennigan and all of them,
yeah.
leading the charge on the narrative structure of their games, you know, from Uncharted beyond. And, you know, it's just when you have that much talent that's focused on delivering a good story, you get games like The Last of Us. You get trilogies like Uncharted, or
Yeah,
you know,
right.
series like
'Cause-
Uncharted.
Because it's you know there's gonna be a Last of Us 3 coming to kind of like, I know you guys haven't played the game necessarily. I went through and I played the crap out of that game.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, but you can definitely see how the story's it's growing organically.
Right.
You know, I know I'm probably gonna have some people listening to this and they're gonna be like, "Oh, f your opinion, this, that," because the people with The Last of Us are very passionate. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, like especially with this game, but you know, just looking at it as a whole, like it won Game of the Year, it won Best Narrative, which, you know, to be honest with, I agree with. Like,
Yeah.
it really did have a really good narrative.
Best
you know,
direction. I
best
think.
art direction, best game direction as well.
Yeah.
You know, and then they also had best voice actress, where Laura Bailey
Bailey.
as Abby.
Oh right. Yeah.
And as much as people hate Abby, and I'll tell you right now, I hate Abby, but you know, the fact that I hate Abby so much is only gives testament to the fact that her voice acting
the
was
voice
like
acting did a great
that.
job.
Yeah, that the fact that she
If you-
kicked ass in that role.
If you like
You know,
get
yeah.
that emotion that you want from people from your voice acting of it, that means you did a great job.
Yeah, so I'm saying,
for,
like
you know, for like my parallel example is that I hate half the cast of Final Fantasy 13,
right.
but I have nothing against the voice actors and the voice actresses. I think they did a great job. They did the, you know, the way they're supposed to.
yeah,
not related to me not
they read
liking
the shit out of those
or
lines.
Yeah.
Pope or
Yeah.
Zaz.
Right.
That's unrelated.
No, yeah, but Laura Bailey just whooped ass in that role. Like she
Yeah.
did a really good job in that game. Like, and just looking at everything else, like that game just did a really good job of just kind of kicking you right in the heart, and then kicking you in the balls, and then just taking you on this like just. At least to me, it was an interesting story. Like it took twists and turns, and it made me want to finish the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, there was never a point where I wanted to just be like, you know what, F this. I'm gonna
Yeah.
put the controller down. Like I'm done with this story. Like it was like more so it was like, ooh, like oh damn, where did that come from? Like let's go. You know, yeah, like let's play this. You know, and it was actually really fun. So I wasn't surprised. But the only thing is, I didn't get a chance to play Ghost of Tsushima, but I heard that was a really strong competitor as well.
I haven't got around to that. That's probably going to be my next one. But I do hear really good things about that.
Yeah, same.
And I think all of us here, especially Tradehold Distro, of course, Final Fantasy VII Remake was definitely one of your guys' top games.
Yeah.
So the fact that that was a nominee and lost to Last of Us, you know,
right.
as passionate fans, I always like to hear, you know, if you think that was justified.
It won. It won best role playing game, which I thought it was justified for sure.
Yeah.
You know, like best RPG hands down. Yes.
Yeah.
Game of the year though. I can see how it lost Game of the Year, like not due to exclusivity because Last of Us 2 is an exclusive as well.
Right.
But just for the fact that it's really hard. It's really hard for kind of let's say people that are very elitist or very kind of just like pro Final Fantasy 7. They're like, I want the full game. Like I'm not gonna play it because I'm not trying to just play a little bit. I want the full product, you know, or like they're kind of just been turned off in general.
Yeah.
When they said it was gonna be episodic and so forth, as opposed to let's say me and Tradehold that came into the game and we're like, we're just looking for a really good game.
Right.
You know, we're just
good experience for what it is there.
Yeah, we're curiosity, but at the same time not expecting much, but just kind of like going in with open arms and we were not disappointed at all.
Blown away.
The game was amazing. Yeah,
right.
Game whooped ass. Like,
and then you kind of look at the other categories that those two huge games of last year were also nominated in like art direction, soundtrack or whatever it might have been. Do you think that Final Fantasy should have won some of those from Last of Us?
So,
I don't remember the categories in my. In all honesty. I do remember while watching.
They kind of like take it down a little bit. It's Game of the Year. It's best game director, basically. Like whoever did the best game. It's best RPG, best action adventure. You have best voice actress. You have best original. No, it's freaking best music.
The technical categories.
Yeah, and then you have, and then it goes into
score,
best indie game,
right.
and then it goes also into best family game, and then it goes into and then it starts going into all the streamers, like independent freaking content creators, and then it goes into like best esports team.
Yeah.
Then it goes to best multiplayer game. I'm sorry, it's not even best shooter anymore. It's just best multiplayer game.
Yeah.
So that's why you have best multiplayer in there as well.
Right.
You know, but for the categories that like they were nominated for, I'm not surprised that Last of Us 2 won everything.
Yeah.
So Tradehold, I know you've been itching. Like, why do you think?
This is an actual itch.
No pun intended, but And so what are your thoughts on The Last of Us 2? And like let's say what happened at the Game Awards.
So it's my opinion here. Now I've not played Last of Us 2, so I can't fully judge the game. I heard from certain people that I trust their opinions, that what they tell me is that gameplay is solid.
Great.
Story is okay, it's above average. It's not as good as one.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, one story is better.
It's a solid story though. And then one of the things that they tell me though is that there were certain points where it tries to get a feeling out of you where logically you should feel a certain way, as opposed to in the first one where it was more organic.
Interesting.
And because of certain aspects that I know what they're talking about when they tell me.
Yeah.
Especially with how social media has been.
Right.
So that being said, and especially what I saw, now I think it definitely most likely deserves a spot on Game of the Year. I definitely think it had, the potential to become Game of the Year when they announced it, but I think it won unfairly. Personally, my opinion. Now of all the
preach
of all the games that were announced, the only one I can't really say much about is Doom Eternal and Hades. I've heard Hades really good.
Yeah,
reviews.
we've all heard Hades whips ass. Yeah.
Doom Eternal. The only reason why I can't say so is because I don't know how Doom Eternal is with the narrative, so I can't say too much about that. Final Fantasy VII blew my mind. Like that,
Yeah,
that blew my expectations because I think I told you guys before that Final Fantasy VII was not my biggest Final
Right.
Fantasy game. I wasn't all that hyped when they first announced it,
Yeah.
and then when they showed the gameplay and everything, when it really hyped me up, it's like, oh, that looks actually amazing.
Yeah, beautiful game.
And then Ghost of
Yeah.
Tsushima, I've just heard amazing things about.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
And then they did the free multiplayer, which I also heard amazing things about. And then you come with Last of Us 2, which again above average is what
Yeah.
I'm hearing overall.
So I think Animal Crossing was a nominee as well.
Oh, I can see
Was
Animal
it?
For
Crossing.
Game
Yeah.
of the
See now
Year, I
that's the
believe.
thing. If Animal Crossing was also one, then I think they also would have been a contender.
A good contender.
Those
Well,
4 contenders. So basically, my perspective is any of those could have taken them.
Yeah.
They were all kind of even ground almost.
Yeah.
And the reason why Last of Us 2 won, and again, I want to say this is my opinion.
Of course, yeah.
Exclusively my opinion and not the rest of us.
Right.
Is that because there's this whole propaganda going on that you guys have seen it, where it's like, oh, there's a lesbian or a LBG
LBGT, you know, yeah.
yeah, representative in the game. And so if you don't vote for this game, you're anti.
Mhm.
You
And
see, this,
and I saw
I'll-
so
I'll
much
let you
of
finish,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I saw so much of that. And even worse was when people were just like, oh, you just don't want to vote for this game because it's a gay character or whatever. But you know what? In Ghost of Tsushima, there was a lesbian too. So you shouldn't vote for Ghost of Tsushima. I'm just like, are you kidding me right now?
my
And
thing
it's
is like,
that. Sorry, it's just like that
Oh, yeah.
mentality where it's I know it's not everybody,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just that mentality that people put out there where it's like, if you're not with us, then you're against us.
Yeah.
And I hate that. I hate that so
Yeah.
much.
it's the Sith, man.
Yeah. And I was just like, dude, I think if for someone who's not played the game, I think you had a good shot already without trying to have this ulterior motive
Right.
of getting people to vote for you just because, they want to prove that, oh, no, I'm supportive of gay people.
Well, like, I told people, it's like, how dare you, like, tell me how I should feel about my game?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know you bought it for me.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, like it's kind
And
of
it's-
just like I went into the game blind, completely not
Yeah.
knowing anything, you know, and like I can tell you everything that from my like personal experience, you know, like it's a game has to be made, you know, like it takes a lot of time. There's a lot
Yeah.
of things that go into it, and
Yeah.
the narrative to me personally didn't feel like it was too cliche or too gimmicky.
Yeah.
Because you can tell when a story is gimmicky.
Yeah.
You know, like it felt like it actually progressed the story like organically. But I can see if you had like those kind of like thoughts in mind beforehand, then you'd be like, oh,
No. See, that's the thing.
know,
though.
yeah.
The people that told me about it went in blind.
Okay.
That's why I say I trust their opinion.
Okay, there we
Because
go.
like they didn't look at like feeds and stuff like. These are people who actually aren't even on social media very often, like at all.
You see-
Straight like people have that are already deleted their Facebook
Yeah.
and don't have Twitter, etc. So they really had no bias going in.
No, I
Yeah.
can
So
feel
that's
it.
why I'm like, okay, I trust your opinion. What did you think? And they said gameplay was fantastic, story is above average. That's what they told me.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and this is more than a handful of people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It
So
kinda-
that's just based on what, like, again, I want to play it myself. Someone
Mm-hmm.
mildly spoiled it for me. I say mild because it is pretty mild based on what I heard.
Yeah.
But it's enough where I'm like, I want to forget it before I go back.
Before
and
you
try,
go back.
Yeah,
so
right.
that I can actually play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like even as a storyteller, like you said before, like yourself, you've been writing stories. It kind of shows how it is kind of a little bit more difficult introducing new characters.
Yeah.
Because the thing about Last of Us, the original one, was it's a story about Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you don't really have too many other people.
Yeah.
Like sure you have what's her name, Tracy, or like who's
Yeah.
the main girl in the beginning that
Tess?
or I'm sorry, Tess. Yeah, Tess that you go through and then, like
Yeah.
there's a little bit of that here and there, but it's really a story like in its core. Last of Us 1 is a story about Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And their experience getting to know each other and making it through their
Trusting each
yeah,
other.
trusting each
and-
other.
Yeah.
And then that's why number 2, I saw it more as like, well, this is their next step. It's more so kind of like what happens after you get through that.
Right.
Like what happens once you get past that. And like you were saying, like I felt those same things where you're kind of just like, you know what, like don't really care too much about this character, or I don't really care too much about that character. or
Yeah.
I feel like I am kind of being strayed into like, let's say like kind of like one
Manipulated.
not
really.
manipulated so much, but you can see where the like a little bit, like
Yeah.
they sprinkle it in a little bit, but
Yeah.
at the same time, like I felt like it was an organic story in there, but it kind of shows you at the same time where you have to kind of have scenes where it's not Ellie and Joel. It's Ellie and a character you don't like.
Yeah.
Or let's say it's Ellie and a character that you may not like, agree with or something. You look over there. Like, to your point as well, like, let's say if this may not be the choice that you would make, it kind of shows that, like, at least with Naughty Dog, I appreciate them for just going through and putting out their story,
Yeah.
Yeah, but...
Outside of that, I felt like, at first I didn't say so, but it started to become more apparent, I guess you can say, that it seemed like, because initially they weren't going to make a sequel, at least that's what Neil Druckmann said.
Yeah.
And then eventually it seemed to be more like, he was making it to appease certain fan bases. One of my friends had mentioned that to me. I'm like, well, hold on, because this what happened was that he tweeted, people of this certain audience will appreciate this, and so one of my buddies just had to go on and say, oh man, he's like sold out because he's making this game for this audience to appease them. And I'm just like, wait, before you judge, maybe he made the story and thought, oh, these type of people will like it. Maybe that's what it meant. But then eventually it got to a point where it's like, I'm now I don't know. So it's I do agree though, if he had made the story ready and he was just like, oh, I'm just gonna bring it out there that you certain people will like it.
Yeah.
Then that's cool. That's fine with me. Again, as Distro mentioned, I write stories, and so most of the time when I write them, I'm not thinking about the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because
right.
I know this is a thing we can probably talk all on its own about, but I've seen fans who are just like, oh, you should appease us because we buy your stuff, right? So of course you should do what we say,
right?
And I'm like, well, if you're their fans, then you should let them do what they do, because you're their fans of their work.
Yeah.
So to me, I think that way.
It's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. Like, obviously you need the money from fans, but at the same time, it's like, well, if you're a fan of my work, you'll let me do what I do.
Yeah.
And as someone who writes stories, I don't think about, most of the time, I'm not thinking about, oh, well, people like this or like that. I'm just like, well, I think this will be a good story. I think this will be a good progression.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera.
See, Neil Druckmann paid off all the judges. he made a bunch of different emails and voted everywhere.
I just want to add though that Laura Bailey definitely deserved that award. Again, I've not played the game, but the crap that she got.
Oh yeah, she got a lot of crap.
Ridiculous. I'm like, how do you guys not distinguish between actors and the role they play? It's like you're being like crucified for accepting a role and then doing well with it.
Oh, she did a great job as Abby.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
She did a really good
It's
job.
the same thing with the Star Wars thing, right?
Yeah. Same thing. Yeah.
It's like, it's ridiculous. I'm like, dude, you're placing the blame. Like, if you want to, if the performance or the character that she portrayed you didn't like, you go after the director,
Right.
or the writer.
Go after Neil.
Yeah, go after Neil. Don't go after the
after
person
Neil.
who accepted the position and just be like, oh, they did a really good job with it. That's ridiculous. It
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
So I definitely say Laura, even if I didn't see her performance, he didn't hear her performance, she deserved that. She deserved that reward.
That's the whole thing about that
Um,
toxic fandom.
Yeah.
Notion going around right now.
Yeah, it's how it's been forever. Like, people instantly jump on the hive mind and on the bandwagon. They hear one thing and it's just like, oh no, I hate her too.
Yeah.
Speaking of Hive Mind, when they're bringing back Dead Space, man.
Yeah, right. No, we're talking about horror games in general. We definitely need to have like a horror game episode where
I'm
we
so
talk
down
about
for
some
that.
stuff. But yeah, like, I feel like we've all been waiting for a game that really chills us to our core.
Yeah.
Like a game that really just kind of gives us that same feeling of, I do not want to progress through this level.
Man,
Yeah, like,
It's been a while.
Well, I remember when they first announced Callisto Protocol. I was like, oh, dude, what? Because it's by the studio. The studio is created by a lot of people that formerly were of Visceral. Like, oh, what if this is like a spin-off to Dead Space, kind of like they did with Prometheus, right? And it's like, maybe this is like before when Necromorphs were like unknown still, and they were just coming out.
Early days.
And then they were like, oh, this is PUBG Universe. I'm like, oh, well, that dashed my hopes. All right, kill my dreams.
yeah, you're like, well, damn. It's all connected.
It's like I put my dreams out there, and you just, you just put it in the oven and baked it and then ate it.
Yeah, but like, we talked about PlayStation Experience almost disappearing as well before, like, off podcast. There's really not too much that's come out, really. It's like Nintendo Directs we've been living off of. we've been living off of the Game Awards, of course, because you have to have TGA.
Yeah.
You know, and then like, well, what else? Like, are they doing the Dice Awards this year at all? Like, when does that usually happen?
Did they have? I think they had the Dice Awards. Did
Did they do the Dice Awards? Like,
Yeah. I'm
I didn't
not
hear
sure.
anything about the Dice Awards this year.
Well, a lot
like,
of the events now, it's funny in the time that we're on right now with the pandemic, and that in one side, people are more at home, so they're more attentive to everything that's going on. On the other side, there's a lot of events that people are trying to throw online, so now there's too much going on.
Yeah.
And so people can't pay attention to it all.
Yeah.
Like Gamescom almost came by without me even noticing.
Yeah.
And then
right.
I watched Gamescom. I don't remember everything that happened there, but I was just like, oh, this is okay.
yeah, right. I feel like right now with like the whole pandemic and everything, I just feel like all these developers are just hibernating. They're just waiting until like they get the right cue or the right event to just start just bringing out fire.
Yeah.
That's what I really hope for. Like we've talked about before, like there's rumors of Silent Hill. Like we've heard rumors of like
Yeah, this is a recent one, the rumor of Silent Hill, which, I mean, it's been going on for over a year now, all these
Yeah.
Silent Hill rumors, but the newest one is Bloomer, right? Bloober?
Bloober, I think.
The
is
ones
their
who
name.
made the Medium, which I've heard is okay,
Yeah.
if not terrible.
And Blair Witch. Yeah.
And Blair Witch, yeah. Apparently working on Silent Hill, and then Konami hinting that there's another studio working on Silent Hill.
Mhm.
And so it's like multiple Silent Hills as opposed to
Just
none.
one. Yeah.
I'm still waiting for. They said Junji Ito's working with Hideo Kojima, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I heard they're
Yeah.
doing something with that, so
Yeah.
like that'd be really effing cool, you know. And then even besides that, we've heard just kind of like rumors that have been in the cyberspace for years, like KOTOR. Where's my KOTOR remake?
Yeah, I know.
You know, like
Rockstar has been talking about not talking, but there's a lot of speculation on GTA 6.
GTA 6,
as
yeah.
well. So I mean,
Well,
there's.
what do you think in Vice City?
That's
I
what
hope
I'm hearing,
so.
actually, yeah.
I mean,
I
to be
hope so,
honest,
like,
I
yeah.
would think we're at a point where maybe we can get all locations in one game
You
at
think
some
so?
point.
Liberty City, Vice City, and San Andreas.
I mean,
'Cause-
I was always a big fan of the idea of like an MMO in GTA and like kind of.
well, they're getting close. The GTA
getting close.
Online
GTA
is-
Online is ongoing.
is legit,
super
yeah,
strong.
like-
Yeah, it really is. So I mean, with just the power of next gen consoles, PC, of course, where we're at now, like, just makes so
Well,
much sense to just
in-
have all locations in one
In that
game.
case, would you prefer them to have multiple locations and big, expansive travel area, or would you want them to actually still keep it at more like one,
Yeah,
one
like
city and then
instances.
just have it more,
Yeah.
more quality? Yeah, I guess you could say,
Well, I feel like with
for
the
lack of a better word.
however
Yeah.
strong the consoles are, like we've already shown that we can swap between characters. Like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you do the same thing where it's like almost like a weapon wheel kind of system where it's just like, oh, real quick, swap over to Liberty City, like
Yeah. Play
you
that
go over
character
there,
in Liberty.
play that character, and play that
Play
campaign,
this character in Vice.
and then you switch over, and all of a sudden
Same
you're in
for
Vice,
Arrow
and
or
then they're
something.
and when you play the campaign, they weave
Yeah,
in and
Yeah.
out together to where it's kind of like, oh, that's what happened, or
Yeah. Yeah.
there'll be like kind of things like that,
Yeah.
speculative thinking. We're really good at this. If we hear that this happens, we're gonna sue Rockstar. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, but even like to your point too, like with the big thing about GTA 5 was San Andreas came back, you know?
Right. Right.
And for my GTA fans back in the day, there was a mission in San Andreas where you can actually go back to Liberty City.
Yeah.
And you're at the diner, if you guys remember the diner in Liberty GTA 3.
Yeah. 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So little stuff like that. Like I wouldn't doubt if they did multiple areas. That'd be really cool.
I mean, it seems like the next evolution of that game. I mean, what they did with San Andreas was just incredible. So how do you push that?
I mean,
forward?
especially when people compare it to Yakuza, even though they're not the same. But Yakuza 5 did like 5 cities.
Yeah,
So it's like, oh, maybe
it can
GTA
work.
could do
It
that.
seems like it can work, and
Right,
to kind of apply everything they learned in Red Dead Redemption 2 and all the
Yep.
production and narrative and everything that they kind of pushed forward there. Make that leverage that for a
I'll
awesome
just-
GTA experience.
I'll just say I'll buy stock in Rockstar.
Can you afford it?
we like
Yeah.
that. We like that stock.
I was about to say no, yeah, anything Rockstar puts out, like I'm still waiting on another Bully, but
Bully.
that's
Bully.
another game to talk
Yeah.
about. But
I'm waiting on another table tennis. Actually.
I thought you were waiting for another manhunt.
I'm waiting on
Oh, that would be a cool.
I'm waiting on another Warriors.
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 Yeah,
Oh,
they did.
man.
You remember remember when they did the Warriors on Xbox One, PS2, and PSP?
PSP,
Like,
yeah.
That was a good one.
yeah, that's Rockstar.
I
too,
remember
like,
working the
You
store
mean-
back in the day,
You
and
mean
it
the
being
Xbox original?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the Xbox original. Yeah, like yeah.
Let's not confuse that.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember working the store and people asking for the Warriors
Oh, yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, that
I
was
wasn't.
like,
I
you
wasn't
know,
at GameStop at the time. I was at a different store, but I remember that.
I'm still
Yeah.
looking for that game.
I'm still looking for it.
We would get customers that stopped by GameStop that didn't have it, and we had it.
Yeah.
You see, no,
Yes.
like the mothership for the longest time, we had a pretty extensive PSP drawer where
Yeah.
it was just sleeves upon sleeves upon sleeves, and every so often, because I wasn't getting a lot of hours, but every time I had a shift, I'd go over and I would just sift through for the
Just
Warriors.
check it out. Yeah. Look for it.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone wanted that game.
It's like it's got to be in the W's, but I'll just check the whole inventory just in case, you know? Yeah,
Yeah.
like 'cause that game was really fun on the PSP. Yeah,
That was a fun one. That was a good one.
yeah,
But yeah,
so-
but you're right. I feel like we're in a quiet. I mean, this is actually traditionally a quiet period every year. Anyways, we're kind of in the winter, coming out of
Yeah.
the winter. You know.
I feel like we're getting plenty of.
We had-
games.
Well, no,
But no, we had no E3,
no major
you know,
announcements
like,
of
yeah.
I
things.
guess.
We're like right on the precipice of like all of these major announcements. I feel like, you know.
Well, it's like even last year we didn't talk about it too much. I know, you know, so we basically didn't mention we had no E3.
No, E3.
You know, like
yeah.
I know no one really cared about E3 beforehand to begin with, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's kind of almost like we've talked about, like
It's kind of sad.
it's kind of like the yearly
Yeah,
milestones.
It is.
Yeah.
It's
It
kind
is.
of like as a gamer,
yeah.
as a
Actual
gamer, you
milestone,
have your
yeah.
calendar. You're like, oh, what E3 is supposed to be happening right
Yeah.
now. You're like,
Yeah.
even though I'm not, you know, like you still want to watch it. You
Yeah.
still want to hear stuff.
Well,
and
because you just knew that all the major companies were prepping their best stuff for that.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Even,
yeah.
though even if it wasn't at E3, it was close.
It
to
was
E3.
along the
like
lines
you know
of right,
EA
yeah.
and Ubisoft and all
would
that
have
stuff
their
would be
Bethesda
like
would have
Bethesda,
theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
and you know, even though we wouldn't have missed Bethesda and their Fallout 76 updates, but
Right.
we still want the other
exactly.
stuff.
We still want to know what's going on. Yeah, I feel like all these companies have started their own announcement schedules and their own direct play. You know, the Nintendo Direct and State of Play, and Xbox has their own, you know, exhibition. And it's like, yeah, you know, it's kind of like going from cable to now signing up for all these streaming channels.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I'd kind of rather have it all in one, like a big E3.
I'd
where
rather just have a
everyone
big
brings
announcement. Yeah,
all their stuff, you know, and every kind of get into the competition of things and the, you know, the hype of everything.
well, they
and-
talk about console wars are dead, right? Like
yeah, that's the,
they've kind of really said it. But I was like, I remember back in like even like 2008, 2009, there was still like, hey Sony, like let me see if I can one up you. You know, like Microsoft would come out with their guns out, you know,
Yeah.
but then Sony would come out just waiting, just like drop the mic,
yeah,
you know, or vice versa. Like I felt like it was
I
always
mean,
just kind
it
of
was
like one of
trying
those
to outdo the
one
other.
trying to outdo the other, but that
Yeah.
kind of died after like
yeah,
it kind of died
The
with the
fans are-
PS4 and like Xbox One and stuff.
The
yeah.
fans are still going. Yeah, I mean, because the whole thing with that was how Xbox One really kind of shot their own foot when they did
Yeah.
the whole
Oh yeah,
no borrowing,
no
Yeah.
sharing. Yeah.
no sharing.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
and then
right.
PS4 had their this is how you game share, and it's like, oh, dude.
Oh, I remember that
Wrecked.
once I saw
Yeah.
that video, I was like, oh no, yeah,
Yeah, it's,
Rip.
they just wrecked. I was like, damn.
yeah.
And like, you know, they backtracked, Xbox backtracked with that, but it was just like, dude, that's too late.
To be fair though,
Yeah.
it was a really good idea from Xbox, but way ahead of its time.
It is.
And then
It
that's you know that's neither here nor
Yeah,
there.
that's
you
like-
know?
that's like a whole different-
Like, yeah,
that's like a whole different
That's a whole
discussion.
different discussion.
We
you know?
will
Yeah,
definitely
but-
have a topic regarding that in the future. But there's been so many things that have been done ahead of its time that just did not catch on at
Yeah.
the beginning.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will definitely talk about that another time.
Like I
But,
said, wrapping up, Last of Us 2 didn't deserve it. You know,
well, I
It
wouldn't say
should've
that
been
it
Final
did deserve
Fantasy.
it. I just-
Hades is a game that we all want to play that we hear is really good, but you know what? We're gonna get around to it, and they're doing a physical release.
I still
3, Nintendo hasn't really been giving us too much fire, but hopefully they have stuff cooking in the oven. Am I
Hopefully
wrong?
Some stuff coming.
Well, I still want
major
to
announcements coming.
mention the 35th anniversary for Mario. The only reason why is because of the limited stuff that they were releasing. The one that's only available until March 31st.
What is it?
Remember Super Mario 3D All Stars was one?
Oh,
And
okay,
then
no,
the
yeah.
yes,
Fire
yes.
Emblem
Right.
anniversary, which was, and it's not just limited in physical release, but digital too. Like they'll take it off of the eShop.
Oh, interesting. So it's truly limited then.
Yeah, like it's limited. So a lot of backlash on that. What did you guys think on that?
Well, I can see it. You know, it's
I mean, it's sort of a. It's not a. Again, it's like if we're talking about major releases, it's a celebratory release for fans who are interested in it. And I mean, we've seen that kind of limited, time frame for items from this company before. So I kind of feel like it's really going to attract the collectors out there and those that really want to jump on board. But I don't think it'll be missed once it's gone, personally.
Like I feel like, well, not me, but the one of the complaints was, scalpers.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing right now in general, actually,
Well, even as a former employee, like, I remember I used to sit there and be like, oh, this is a really limited edition game, and sure, the people that pre-ordered would come pick it up, and then like we said, like, the people that actually really care about the game will come pick it up, but then you're sitting on, like, 5 or 6 copies for a little while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, like, of course they sell out, like, after a while, but
They
then,
will.
like, realistically, it's like, I feel like if you really want it, you'll get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then anybody who wants to complain after that, it's kind of just like, dude, like,
You waited too long.
Right.
you waited way too long.
That's
you know?
honestly, that's what I was because I saw so many people complaining about this. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, it's 6 months.
'Cause, yeah,
Honestly,
That's
if
plenty
they
of
didn't,
time.
if they didn't put the date on it,
Yeah.
it probably would have ended production by then.
to Cash Rap's point, like, no disrespect to my boys, like Mario and Luigi, but like, how often do you really sell Mario and Luigi unless it's a parent that comes up or like
Yeah.
somebody who's collecting or somebody who's like
yeah.
trying to play it, but like,
Yeah,
but,
I mean,
but to be honest, like, it's not like a hot item, like.
Not, yeah. I mean, the last Mario release, Bowser's Fury, bundled with, what was it, 3D World, I
Yeah.
believe.
That looked cool, by the way.
Awesome release,
Yeah.
yeah. Great package for value-wise. You get 2 games kind of in one. One's a completely new experience. One's a revision of a decent game that was on the 3DS, if I remember right. Is that right? 3D World was on
Oh, yeah.
3DS?
Yeah, it was on the 3DS.
But, this sort of 35th anniversary celebratory release is sort of just an extension of that. It's awesome for the, Mario backers out there. But, I think
this
everyone's waiting for the next major Mario release at this
Now, I
point.
would say,
Yeah,
too,
right,
though,
exactly.
the weird thing was that it's also limited on their eShop.
Yeah,
That's
right.
the weird thing. Personally, like, again, to your point, Cash Rap too, and we've already been saying it, they're always gonna have limited releases. If they hadn't put a date on it,
Yeah.
it still would have and if you want they didn't limit copies. They limited a time frame.
A time frame.
6 months. That's a lot of time.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah,
Anyone
right,
who wants it, like Distro said,
Can
if you
probably
wanted
get it.
you would have gotten it by
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
It was like it sold out a few times, but it restocked.
Yeah.
It's like if
And
you're a
it's-
Mario fan, you would have picked it up,
You would've
like
got
a
it.
genuine
Yeah,
Mario
you have
fan.
time
yeah.
to pick
And then
that up.
Nintendo prices rarely drop.
Right.
This being limited will not change that.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it's sitting on shelves and it's $60 a year later, that has nothing to do with the fact that it was a limited release.
Right.
That's Nintendo.
That's true.
The last probably release that was similar to this was probably All Stars, maybe, that was truly limited in its production
yeah.
run. And you're right. I mean, it didn't do any favors for people who are trying to get it cheaper
Yeah.
than the retail. In fact, it just got more expensive.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know of too many folks out there personally who are clamoring to get a copy of All Stars. I think people who wanted it either for
Already got
collector
it,
or
yeah.
playing it already have it.
Or someone
So-
who just recently is collecting, gonna go refresh their collection or something.
Yeah.
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 It's a good point. There isn't a big demand for it.
But it is interesting that this is, kind of this is kind of it for the anniversary celebration. You kind of would have expected something, hinting at an Odyssey, the next version of Odyssey, or I don't know, whatever.
An Odyssey 2.
Well, I don't know, something.
Yeah, like-
you
They
know.
had the online one that apparently is a lot of fun. I've not
Oh,
played it.
the what was it? It was original
Yeah, the original Mario.
but it was like a battle royale version
Yeah.
of it. That's right.
I've heard it's tons of fun.
Yeah.
I've not played it yet, but I've heard it's tons of fun. I also think personally that they're probably going to individually release them for pricier.
Yeah, I
like
could see that.
$30.
I could
each
see that. Yeah,
type of deal.
see that.
I see that
happen.
too.
And then on top of that, there was a complaint about Fire Emblem, original Fire Emblem, when they did an anniversary edition,
Yeah.
that there was no physical cart.
Oh, people always complain about that. I remember
Yeah.
that beforehand. I was like,
And it's a 30 megabyte game. That
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm a collector. I'm a huge collector. I'm a physical collector.
Yeah.
And even I was like, no, I don't.
It's not
I
a
don't,
big deal.
It's not like I don't expect them to spend money on a code cartridge to put 30 megabytes. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense to me. If they did a Fire Emblem collection, maybe. but not Fire Emblem original.
Yeah, right. I know
Like
what
I
you
was
mean,
just
yeah.
like, I saw so many people complain about that, and as I think between us three, I might be the lowest in terms. No, maybe second in terms of Nintendo fan, right? Because
Yeah.
I said I think the biggest Nintendo fan here is Distro.
Oh, I love
Distro,
Nintendo.
think.
Yeah,
And I'm more of a
please sponsor me.
PlayStation guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But
Like
you
if I
know,
can meet Reggie, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like yeah, like
But yeah, I mean, even then, I was just like, no, I think that's perfectly fine. It's valid. It's a valid
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
If people talk about how it's only a couple pennies to create
Right.
like a cartridge, I'm like, yeah, but are you thinking about the other stuff in line of production line and
Yeah.
all that stuff? Because no, it's
Well,
definitely
it's-
as someone who works production at something else.
Right.
yeah,
I
right.
can
You
see
kinda
that this
see
is
the-
not
the
worth it. This
justification
would
there.
not be worth it.
And kind of a greater conversation around the capabilities of a digital game sphere now. Like, do you need a cartridge or a disc or any physical media for anything anymore? I mean, when you see consoles that not coming out, next gen consoles don't have disc drives.
Yeah, right.
How viable
That's-
is cartridge in physical media anymore?
That's what, like,
and I mean
circling,
for collectors, obviously, if you're a collector, you're gonna want something on the shelf. But how many of those are there now, and how many will there be tomorrow, and the next day, and so on and so forth?
kinda
Honestly,
so.
another thing too, as a collector, I usually don't like to take my game out of the case and then put it back.
Right.
If I
Yeah.
have a digital, I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
you know?
like a-
I mean, I would like it physical because for
Yeah.
obvious reasons, if they take it out of the library or whatever, then you
Yeah.
should have it. But
Right. Right.
for again, this is how old is this game, right?
Right. Exactly.
35 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean.
I do know that you mentioned Hideo Kojima. I want to touch on that too. With
Oh,
what's his
Eiji
name?
Aonuma?
Yeah.
Oh yes, the collab.
The collab, yes.
What would they
The
do
collab.
if you? What would you want to see done if they were to collab on something?
Like a Breath of the Wild game with like Hideo Kojima's just
Weirdness.
just like not so much as weirdness, but just his storytelling.
Yeah.
Like I'd want them just to come together and like write a story first, like just a narrative,
Yeah.
and then just build this world around it, like and just really get in there. But
Yeah.
like even what I was saying before, Nintendo beforehand used to be really good with like accessories, like just different things you can get, collector's items and so forth. And I feel
Yeah.
like recently they've been trying to get back on it, like
Yeah.
like we said with the Joy-Cons, with the Pro
Yeah.
controllers and stuff. But you
Yeah.
know, like I feel like to your point, not a lot of people are looking for special editions or anything as much
Yeah.
anymore. Like a physical copy, unless you're a collector. Like I like collector's editions myself. Tradehold does as well, but
Right.
it's kind of like if you can get it digital, like even with myself nowadays, because I was so salty, it was kind of like
Yeah.
I would prefer to just kind of just have it ready to go.
Well,
know?
Nintendo properties are just so marketable too. I
Exactly,
mean, you
yeah.
slap a logo of DJ KK or whatever his name is in Animal Crossing, throw that
yeah.
on a backpack or a Joy-Con, that thing's gonna sell to people who don't typically buy collector items.
Exactly,
Stuff.
yeah.
So their stuff is just purely meant for accessories.
Exactly, yeah.
I just want to say that in terms of a collaboration, I think this would be a good one. It would be called Sky Productions, and Sky would be Suda51, and it's Hideo Kojima and Yoko Taro. That would be
Okay,
all,
there you go,
all
nice.
kinds of brain.
Just
All sorts
Excuse
of
my
brain.
language.
just
Excuse my language.
In short,
crazy
coin sound.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, any final thoughts on, let's say, Game Awards or anything like that? I feel like we got some good content.
Yeah, we got some good content.
Yeah.
I had a question for you guys.
What's that?
Yeah.
In regards to the latest Nintendo Direct, and then acknowledge that Legend of Zelda 35th anniversary is tomorrow, as of this recording. But in regards to Nintendo Direct, what game were you most excited about seeing? And then what was your thoughts on the new Smash character?
Oh, new Smash character? I like Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Not really
And-
excited.
And who would you have liked for a new Smash character?
Well, after they gave me Banjo-Kazooie, I can't complain. Like, that was my character right there. Like, I've been saying for years, I was like, why isn't Banjo in Smash? Like, once they gave
that
me
makes
Banjo...
sense. That makes sense.
Once they gave me Banjo, like, I have no reason to complain anymore. I'll be completely honest with you. Now it's just all fluff.
Yeah.
Now it's like you're giving me Pyrrha. It's kind of just like cool. You know what I mean? Personally, I didn't really get too excited for it. But that being said, my favorite game for the Nintendo Direct was freaking Mario Golf.
Nice.
Like I said,
Top game.
I was a big Mario Golf fan on N64. I spent a lot of hours on that game just as a
Yeah.
kid. And like I said, with the new game modes, with the improvements that they've made, and kind of just the accessibility with the Joy Cons and so forth, like I feel like it's a good party game. I really played that game.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, that one does it's a return of Mario sports games.
I'm saying, yeah,
it's
yeah.
great. I'm all about it.
What about you, Cash Wrap?
Smash character. Cool to see them expanding. I love seeing the roster of characters just grow like all the time. I wasn't a super big fan of Xenoblade, but it's just really cool to see new additions in that game, and just, I mean, it's like the sky's the limit for who can show up there, And so, like, I mean, thinking about cameos in roster additions later, like, I kind of want to see them build off of, like, including Snake in there, and what other kind of action heroes can we see? I mean, can we see,
Was the Snake in there?
Snake, Solid Snake?
Yeah.
He was in Brawl, but I'm not in Ultimate too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's in
yeah.
Ultimate, yeah.
Yeah, he's in, no, he is in this one, but I'm thinking what
more.
other kind of action heroes can we
gotcha,
get
gotcha.
in this game beyond just
Like Sam
him?
Fisher. No.
Sam Fisher would be
Yeah, like, that'd be
amazing,
cool.
actually. I'd be all for that. Or, like, I don't know,
Joel.
Lara Croft or something like that,
Yeah.
Joel.
Yeah.
That'd be one depressing addition, actually.
That would be.
Ellie and her rage.
Oh, man.
Kratos.
Right?
Kratos.
Yeah, like, I would take Atreus.
Hey,
Oh, yeah, that'd be kind of an
Yeah.
interesting one, actually. Have Kratos as, like, a...
It's like Banjo and Kazooie, but it's Kratos and Atreus.
Kratos is Atreus' super move. He calls his dad over.
Aloy, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, Aloy would be cool too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would be a
Yeah,
good
because
one.
she has the bow and the spear and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Sure, yeah.
Trip mines and everything. Yeah.
I'm actually really looking forward to Bravely Default too. And just the return to sort of a classic RPG style seems to be really something I'm missing right now. So that was a pretty, and that new Square Enix game.
Oh,
that
Project
ti-
Triangle.
Strategy.
title pending, right?
Yeah, title pending.
That one looks pretty interesting too. Oh, and of course Plants vs Zombies, because I'm a ride or die with Plants vs Zombies. So.
Nice.
Nice.
What about you, Treadle?
So Ninja Gaiden Master Collection.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. I've been waiting on that. They kind of leaked that one by accident before, so I kind of saw it coming already.
Yeah.
But them showing off Nintendo Direct was more of me like, my initial reaction was like, hell yes, and then the next reaction was, it's not Nintendo exclusive, is it?
Yeah, right.
And then it's not. So I'm like, okay, PS4.
Yeah.
The other one, obviously, Project Triangle Strategy, because I'm an RPG guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Square Enix too. They're not going to let down.
And again,
Yeah.
my initial reaction was this should have been what Unsung Story. And anyway, I didn't back Unsung Story, but I know the whole story about it, and so
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, this should have been what that was.
It's an unsung story, no pun intended.
And,
Yeah.
if you ever had a Kickstarter or a crowdfunded topic, I'll definitely bring it up.
Nice.
That's not for now.
Yeah.
And then No More Heroes 3, of course. And then in terms of Smash character, I liked it.
Yeah.
Like when they first showed up, it's like, oh, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, DLC, or
Yeah, that's what I thought
announce,
too.
Like, maybe they'll go into Xenoblade Chronicles X remastered for the Switch or something like that. And then she popped out the invitation. I was like, oh, no way. Okay, that's pretty cool. And obviously, I've not beaten Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but I know her character.
Yeah.
And I know that she switches. So I was like, oh, they're going to have that.
Yeah.
And they showed it off, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Would I have preferred a different character? Yes. But I have nothing against bringing on characters I like anyways.
Right.
I know a lot of people complain too many sword characters.
Right.
And, that's whatever. But to
Yeah.
me, if they can add a character, I think Zero from Mega Man Zero. Specifically Mega Man Zero, because when I say that, they said, oh, he's an assist trophy. I'm like, no, that's Zero from Mega Man X. It's different.
Yeah.
Like, because Mega Man X Zero is all sword. Mega Man Zero, he has, like, a robust, like, weapon set.
Yeah.
Sword, spear, rod, chain rod, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So Tonfa, like, he has a lot of different weapons
yeah.
that they can definitely use, and he has more mechanics like cyber elves and
Right.
that. So I'm like, when I'm talking about Zero, no, I'm not talking about Mega Man X Zero. I know he is cooler, but his
Yeah.
weapon
Yeah, right.
set's
No,
different.
yeah, but no.
Yeah, but his weapon set is completely different. So I think that would have been better, because even if he was primarily a sword user, you can have his different weapons for all of his different attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But no, I have no complaints with Pura and Mithra. So
Nice.
And I saw people who were just like, why are they bringing Ryu? I'm like, hey, why are you complaining about sword characters and asking them to bring in Ryu?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, for real. though.
Why does that make sense?
Yeah.
all I do know though is that Ninja Gaiden collection just made me want a Dead Space collection. What EA
Yeah, I
still
know,
has not
right?
done.
Yeah.
That would be really
Still
cool.
hasn't happened.
But that's it. Yeah.
Rest in peace, Visceral.
Yeah. But they're in what's the studio they named now for Callisto Protocol?
I don't
Sudden is it Sudden Breaker? It's probably not at all it. I don't remember the name.
Yeah. Yeah. I know who you're talking about. I can't remember the name.
Yeah,
though.
but I think most of them are in that studio now.
Yeah.
And EA could hire them to make a new Dead Space, but they're working on PUBG, so
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and close the gate up.
Closing shop.
Closing shop. We got to put the Master Sword back in his pedestal.
yeah.
Go back ahead in time. To our other studio and.
We'll be back when some Game of the Year contenders arise.
Yeah, next Game
Shortly.
Awards conversation.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. But until then, any final thoughts, guys? No.
Looking forward to this year of games,
Yeah.
man.
I'm also
See what's
looking
gonna
forward
happen.
to saving some money from not so many games.
Right, yeah.
This is the catch-up year.
Hey, it's
For real, though.
pandemic, right? So
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
So
gotta save some money.
that
Thanks
being
everyone
said,
for listening.
yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Please follow us. On all of our social media. Please give us a rate, a like. Anybody that has already, thank you so much. You're part of the fam. You already know.
What are we on?
What are we on?
Yeah, what are we on? What the platforms are we on?
Oh, we're on GameStop. We're on GameStop TV. No, I'm just kidding. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Google Play. We're on
It's Google Podcasts now.
Podbean. Oh, it's Google Podcasts. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're on Google Podcasts. We're on Podbean. Basically, look us up and you can find us everywhere. Really appreciate the support.
YouTube.
And
YouTube.
YouTube as well, yes.
Slower on the YouTube. Sorry, because I make the intros and sometimes
It's okay.
it takes a while.
Yeah, okay. But until then, I gotta say power to the podcast.
Power to the podcast.
Closing the gates up.
Oh, yeah.